The Minnesota Vikings have started the season 3-0. Let's go, baby.
Let's go for the Minnesota Vikings. Oh my goodness. The LA Chargers drop to 2-1. And while the loss may be something tough to swallow, there's a whole lot more that's creating an avalanche here. But welcome back. There is still hope. Another episode of the BuiBros Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Quinn Bowie, and I, of course, cheer for the LA Chargers. And across from me, my brother Brandon.
And I cheer for the 3-0 Minnesota Vikings, undefeated. Woo, 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 woo.
Whoa, whoa,
On today's
whoa.
episode, we'll be breaking down this week's matchups that we, or the games that have happened this previous weekend, in which we have also stated that the Vikings won to go to 3-0. If
Did the Vikings win?
The Vikings won, and they won the game before and the game before that. So they're 3-0. And then we're also going to be breaking down another game that another team won. There was a winner in that game.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon. And thank you all if you're here with us. We do appreciate it. If you are a Chargers fan or a Vikings fan or big NFL fan like Brandon and I are, it really, we'd appreciate if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that notification bell because it really does help the channel out. Let's get into it. You talk about that other team, Brandon. Let me start. I need to get it off my chest. I've had a couple days here now to really sit with what happened over the weekend. And, the LA Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, we knew last week, our video, Jim Harbaugh versus Mike Tomlin in that old school smash mouth type of football. We knew this was going to be physical. It was going to be a battle. And it was. And the battle ended up with some wounded soldiers, amongst other things. Final score was at 20-10. Justin Fields was able to just dissect often that middle part of the defense. Let's get into it a bit. Starting off right away, first half, especially that first quarter there, when we look at what happened, wow, that Justin Herbert to Quentin Johnston connection looked nice. 27-yard pass. He beats Joey Porter Jr. We talked about him last week. Big name, legacy player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was great. Justin Fields comes back. He gets that 5-yard run. It looked like a bit of an option play, and he just cut up and way too quick for any of our defense to react. That's where the good happened. We were keeping up, and then the injuries happened, and this first one may not be in sequential fashion here, but we lose Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, this injury prone, that's the moniker that's kind of going around. He gets injured, and it seemed like he re-aggravated his hip injury that's been bugging him for the last few weeks here. Shoot. But you know what? We've got Khalil Mack. We've got Tuli Tuipulotu. We got Bud Dupree, who made his presence known a little bit against his former team. Joey Bosa goes down. Shoot. Well, that's okay. Well, no, it's not okay because at the end of the day, we lost the game. So we lost the game, and then we lost Joey Bosa. Well, not only did we lose the game and lose Joey Bosa, well, then we lost Rashawn Slater, starting left tackle, who's been nothing but shining bright light on this offensive lineman, like he has been in the past. Injuries have been there, but he's come back with vengeance, it seemed like this year. We lost him. So not only did we lose the game, and we lost Joey Bosa, and now we lose starting left tackle Rashawn Slater. Well, now we lose Justin Herbert. He gets sacked by linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Landon Roberts, comes in, just gets the ankle caught up in there, and Jim Harbaugh mentions that at any first sign of a limp, he's taking Herbert out. And that's what happened. Herbert's out. Heineke gets in, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But now we've lost our pride and joy, Justin Herbert. So not only did we lose the game, we lose Joey Bosa, we lose Rashawn Slater, now we lose Justin Herbert. Well, that's the worst. No, it's not, because we also lose first round, 5th overall pick, Joe Alt, in this as well. He seems to have an MCL sprain at the moment. So we've lost our tackles. Last week, PFF's highest graded tackles. But now they're gone. So not only did we lose the game, not only did we lose Joey Bosa, not only did we lose Justin Herbert, not only did we lose Rashawn Slater and now Joe Alt. Those injuries are the notable ones, at least. Well, holy moly. Derwin James gets suspended for 1 game. And what game is that? Well, that is the game against divisional rivals, Super Bowl back-to-back championship, hopeful repeat champions in the Kansas City Chiefs. Holy! We go through this. We lose players. From injury, we lose players due to suspension. And I understand that Derwin James, that was a helmet to helmet. I do not believe. I see Derwin James often in his interviews and the way he carries himself on field. He is not out there to maliciously hurt anybody. He is there to play fast, hard-hitting football. Football is ingrained in his soul, and he gets this 1 game suspension. You know, a lot of people are talking about this controversy about the Kansas City Chiefs, about how they're getting all the calls. You know, this is all of a sudden this year it's highlighted a little bit more. But the Kansas City Chiefs have been getting this for a while. Maybe they don't need the referees' assistance in this game. Maybe the referees assisted in a different way to make it a little bit, you know, we can't show everybody that we're helping out. Let's just suspend Derwin James. I don't know. I'm reaching right now. It's sad. It's sad. It really is. But I do want to say it is not all doom and gloom. Because although we lost the game, Joey Bosa, Justin Herbert, Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, Derwin James, everybody's gone. The star players are gone. Guess what? We still believe in Jim Harbaugh. And this is where the difference is going to be made. We saw a lot of games over this past weekend really influenced by the coaching that went on. And Jim Harbaugh, we've talked about this before, has circled this game. And he's not going to let that message, the focus on this game, the Kansas City Chiefs, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the repeat hopefuls in the NFL. We are going to have a plan. Him and Greg Roman are going to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is off the field. We eat up the clock and then some. All the bells and whistles off that. But that is the game plan, right? That's how you beat this type of opponent, especially if you are understaffed, I'll put it. And that's what we've really got going on. We'll get into the preview of the Kansas City Chiefs, as I said, later. But that was a tough loss. I knew it was going to be tough physically with how each team plays. But the fact that on top of the loss, we lost key players, rough. Mm-hmm. This had an incredible game plan after half where I think we had -5 total yards in the second half to their 200 plus. It was tough, and the team will learn from it. Jim Harbaugh will learn from it, and we'll get stronger once all these players potentially come back. But Brandon, give me some hope. Give me some words of wisdom here.
The words of wisdom is that what I saw is that Joe Alt went down, which sucks, and him and Rashawn Slater missing an extended period of time. But we talked about it last week about how he was stuffing these very premier pass rushers. And he did the same thing with TJ Watt. TJ Watt did have like one pressure and a sack on that same play, but I saw a still of that play, and he is like, as the ball is snapped, he's moving. He's already across the line of scrimmage when no one else has moved. Offensive linemen haven't moved other than the center. The other defensive linemen haven't moved. So that was just TJ Watt being incredible and getting through as he does. It wasn't any slight on Joe Alt. So the hopeful thing is that you still have a rookie stud. He will be back. It will be fine. And no matter how this game is played, like, let's say there is no Herbert, even though they say that there is still a good chance that he'll play. The Derwin James thing, you know, is obviously he's gone. It's out. We can't talk about him for this next game. But like, the team is still going to rally through the coach and through the players that have to step up. Just because some players go down, the next man up mentality is real within these players. So they're going to go in and they're going to play super hard. So that's the good thing.
I agree. You know, I was thinking, because Chargers teams in the past, when it starts to rain, it pours, right? And I still believe that this team is a little bit different. I see a lot of these teams in the league right now that are going through adversity, that are overcoming that adversity. Rookie play. We saw Washington on Monday. Like, that was phenomenal from Jaden Daniels. But then you go to please excuse me from going into your division, but you see what Matt LaFleur is doing with Malik Willis over in Green Bay, and they've got injuries. Unfortunate circumstances, but they are prevailing. And I truly believe that this coaching staff has a shot to prevail and shock the world. And what an incredible, incredible feeling. What an incredible boost for this team to know that all of those players, and I could do the whole rigmarole again, all of those players are hurt, whether they play or not. They're not going to be at 100%. And yet we put up a fight. We potentially beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's remember, it is a home game. The Chiefs aren't traveling as well as the Raiders are. So there is hope. I'm excited. Kansas City Chiefs come to LA next week. Hopefully Justin Herbert plays. The run game gets back on track. We're going to have time to actually configure the offensive line as we want, instead of just makeshifting it as it was during the live game last week. Quentin Johnston resurgence year. Ladd McConkey getting in there. Where I think the Chargers can also lean on is, Gus Bus. J.K. Dobbins has been the hot hand. He is going to continue to be that RB1. But Gus Bus, not the same team. You're a little bit older. I think you're about 29 years old. He's up there, and that's especially for a running back. But we've got that hungry rookie, Kimani Vidal. Let's watch this and see how it shapes up. But I think he's going to be elevated above Gus Edwards at some time in the near future. There we have it. The Pittsburgh Steelers 20 to the LA Chargers 10. Our first loss of the season. There is still hope. We believe Jim Harbaugh is at the helm. Justin Herbert is going to be okay with that X-ray coming back negative. Let's go. Let's move forward. We're here. We're getting there. Brandon, let's switch gears a little bit. Before we get to the Vikings, though, let's go to the fantasy football, the team fantasy football analysis. So now we're in week 3 again. For those who haven't seen it before, it is an accumulative full team fantasy football. Quarterback, running backs, blah, 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 all the way down, rushing, receiving, touchdowns, defense, kickers, all of it. Who's winning? Who's winning? The Minnesota Vikings or the LA Chargers? Who has most fantasy football points this year?
It happens to be the Minnesota Vikings by a landslide.
What do you mean? Where's this data coming from? That's insane. The Chargers caught up last year.
So yeah, last week they caught up big time. After being down pretty bad in week 1, which means you guys could catch up again next week. That being said, look at these points. Like, your tight end is beating us, but our tight ends are pretty weak at the moment. I feel like most teams' tight ends have not been doing crazy. So, but it's the quarterback. Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns last week. Like, it's pretty
Huge.
sweet. 4 passing touchdowns. And the passing touchdowns here account for so many points because he's passing to a running back and or receiver. So they're kind of double. Every time the quarterback scores, the running backs and the wide receivers are scoring too. So a rushing touchdown is a lot worse for points, which is, J.K. Dobbins has been crushing it for you guys. And then Aaron Jones got a receiving touchdown. And like the quarterback, Sam Darnold, early MVP candidate, as they are saying, it's been lighting it up. 8 touchdowns on the year in 3 games. 8 touchdowns in 3 games.
Early quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings getting MVP hype. Where have we heard this story before?
Yes. Kirk was.
But hey, albeit, I hope absolutely you guys are in the running.
Oh, it's all fun now, right? Like,
you're playing with house money. You're 3-0 in a situation where that wasn't necessarily looking to be the case, especially with the 49ers going in there. The Houston Texans.
Yeah.
God, we'll get into that in the preview of next week and your recap of the Vikings going forward. But here we have it. You guys are smashing. The Vikings are providing a lot more fantasy points this year than the LA Chargers. 355 and chains for the Minnesota Vikings. LA Chargers down there at 262 and change. Well, let's see what happens going into next week. We definitely need Herbert to play in order for us to really make a run at this.
Mm-hmm. But Heineke's a gunslinger too. You never know. You never know if he's just launching it around, if that's part of the game plan.
You never know. Never
know. If things can change on a dime, if we can't perform next week and you guys do big time, like the score of our game, we haven't gotten into it yet. It's 34-7. Like, we're scoring a lot of points. Our defense is crushing it. The kicker's going to crush it. Everything was flowing. So we're feeling good. If you got any Minnesota Vikings players, you're feeling good.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the Vikings, if you're still with us, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. If you are a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, the LA Chargers, or NFL football, just like Brandon and I are, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that notification bell, as it really does help us out. All right, yes, Brandon.
Yes.
You just talked about it. You had a score of 34-7. Now, if we flash back, last week, you predicted 24-7, and I thought it was a little outrageous, the fact that you were going to be beating the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, and Stephon Diggs, so on and so forth. That much.
I think I said 24-17 or something like that, because I remember it being extremely close to because I think we won 23-17 to the...
Well, then I misheard, and I'm trying to give you more credit for what you were saying, because you far surpassed what your projection was at the end of the day. What an incredible performance. Oh, yes. My goodness. You talked about Sam Darnold earlier, and I'll let you get into that soon, but it was also that defense. We've talked about Brian Flores, but what on earth happened there?
He's too good. Like we mentioned last week, his disguising was like the way that he disguises the defense is second to none. He's doing such a great job with all his looks that the quarterback, especially, Brock Purdy isn't necessarily, he's in his 4th year. But CJ Stroud in his second year, he hasn't seen all these NFL looks yet. He hasn't seen a lot of this stuff yet. And so when you're thinking it's this, and then in your head you go, but I know Brian Flores is changing this up, so it's not going to be cover 2 here. And it is cover 2. It doesn't matter. So even if you don't switch it up, you're still confusing the offense because they're expecting you to be confusing them. So there's a lot that goes into the mind games that are played between the coordinators, essentially, or the coordinator versus the quarterback. And so what a game. It was special. Going into half, 14-0 was special. It was awesome. I think, and you know what? Last week we had, I think I gave Keami Fairbairn, Jesus.
Fairbairn.
I gave him the edge, I think, in kicking.
For the kicker, yeah, right.
Let's just read what he did. He got 1 extra point.
One
Sweet.
for one?
One for one.
Because they only got 1 touchdown.
And 1 missed field goal. Okay, Will Reichard, 2 field goals, a 58-yarder that looked good, and 4 extra points. So this guy's perfect on the season. I think we might be choosing our kicker from here on out. Because that guy is awesome.
Highly touted rookie kicker. But like before you get like into the details, we also have to look at what your circumstance was coming into the game too. No Jordan Addison.
No
Ivan Pace Jr.
Yeah. No
big one.
Dallas Turner. Still
no Dallas Turner.
Still no TJ Hawkinson, obviously.
Obviously. Yeah.
And so our receivers are, our pass catchers are down a little bit. It sucks to not have Jordan Addison. And you can maybe see that reflected in the sense that, Sam Darnold only threw for 181 yards. But also, you don't need to throw for that many yards, right? Like, this is all part of the game plan. He threw for under 200 yards, 17 to 28, with 4 touchdowns. You didn't need it, and the reason that you might not need to have, the quarterbacks for Houston threw for a total of 307 yards. You don't need to throw for 307 yards when you've got Aaron Jones breaking the 100-yard rushing mark. You don't need that at all when you've got big runs, a 39-yard run that he had. Then he had a reception touchdown as well, but the team is it's complementary football, right? It's not just on the offense is helping the defense by staying on the field longer and, not giving up a short field and whatever it may be. It's also complementary in the sense of like the run game with the pass game. The reason that we can have such success in the air, and it's more surgical success, not necessarily big plays all the time. Even though last week, the week prior we had the 97-yarder, but this week was not like that. It was just precision, short passes. The longest catch, or the longest reception that we had was 28 yards, which is a decent reception. But it's nothing crazy.
No, for sure.
And so the team is just firing on all cylinders here. And I'll just get into a couple things here. So, like I mentioned, 14-0 at the half. That's huge morale booster. I think we scored just while we were going into half. I think they had missed the kick in the first half as well. And so it's like they're kind of down, not scoring any points. And we're in 2 quarters. And then we're getting a touchdown just before half. And then we're getting the ball back after half, which is incredible. Not to mention that our first touchdown came off of our first drive, which was a short field because of an interception on CJ Stroud on their first drive. So it's just kind of like the defense is giving us a short field, and then they have the offense going out and capitalizing, putting 7 on the board, right? So appreciating what the defense is giving them and taking advantage of the opportunities that are put in front of them. So let's get into some little stats here, okay? We mentioned that we don't have to throw for 300 yards when we're rushing for 118 total. Well, Houston rushed for a total of 38, which they didn't have Mixon. And they didn't have another guy. Who's the other guy that they didn't have?
Dameon Pierce.
There you go. And
but so, you know who they had?
They had our boy Cam Akers. Revenge game.
Yeah.
He had a reception touchdown, I believe. Yes, he did.
Yes.
Their only touchdown. So, revenge for him. Well, you know what? We had some revenge games on the defense as well. Namely, Jonathan Grenard with 3 sacks. What a gangster. I don't know.
This whole game was that kind of overlap, right? We talked about it and holy familiar faces, yes. Like new enemies, new foes. Well, but yeah, Greenard with 3 sacks.
Yeah, it just unreal. Yeah, unreal. I don't know what else to say. He had, he stepped up. He's been doing very well. He's like top 4 at the moment amongst edge rushers in pressures. Now top 2 in sacks, but so he's been getting the pressures, but they developed into sacks this game. Stroud was holding onto the ball a little longer than he should have, maybe. But that's because he's being confused by the defense. So it's all working together here, right?
It's incredible. But on the other side, if I may just jump in, like the guy coming back to Minnesota for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. I read that and I was shocked that he had not come to Minnesota even when he was with the Bills, but Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, you're talking about Diggs. Yes, Diggs.
Diggs.
He 94 yards.
Yeah, 10 catches.
10 for 94. Yeah, he was good. And you know what? After the game, he was happy. I'm sure the fans, I didn't really notice it in the game. I'm sure the fans love to have him back. I don't think there's any bad blood, especially because that trade we traded, and with that Bills pick, we took Justin Jefferson. It's not like, because of that we could have.
They did the jersey swap.
Yeah, they did the jersey swap, and it was kind of a fun moment between the two of them.
Yeah,
that was good. But another guy who came back is Danielle Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, fun fact is he got a roughing the passer in which injured and gave Sam Darnold just a knee bruise. There's no structural damage, no nothing. But off the low hit, and fun fact, that was Danielle Hunter's very first roughing the passer call in 128 games. Because the dude...
128 games?
128 games played, and he... no, that's too many.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa. How many seasons has he played?
That doesn't make sense.
Anyways, in a long time.
A long time. He's played a lot of seasons, though. Like, it's probably 7-8 seasons, something like that. Now I got to figure this out, but... Yeah, 120 games. Actually, I don't know why I quoted that. Anyways, but that was his first roughing the passer call because he is not a dirty guy. He's a very clean player, and he came up to our team after that and was like, man, I got the block pushed me. I never would have done that. And the fans are booing him, and Brian O'Neill came out and said that he was upset that the fans are booing him. But that's going to happen when you rough the passer and injure the guy in our stadium. They're going to boo you. And then what's going to happen after is Sam Darnold's going to come back in the game and get a standing ovation from the fans. And which he talked about feeling very special to have. It apparently when you were in the stadium was awesome. So it was a really feel-good game overall, and we kind of had control the entire time.
The entire time.
Well, this is maybe the biggest win I can remember. As a fan.
Your 3 wins, man. So nice. So sick. Like our first 2 wins, it was so nice. It was so relaxing to actually sit and watch football. And you're like,
there's gonna loss coming somewhere. Right?
Nice play.
Losses are gonna
come on. Like, oh my goodness. Awesome.
Yeah. What else? Here's this is something that we talked about last week too. Our efficiency. We had 5 red zone possessions, and we had 4 touchdowns and 1 field goal in the red zone. So 100% scoring percentage in the red zone. 15 plays, so more, than the last time. So that's 3 plays per red zone possession, if you're going to think of it that way. We had 5 possessions, 15 plays. Actually, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Get the points.
So and we had 60 plays to their 63 this week. Total net yards actually identical at 296. That's interesting. But that takes into account, like, if you look, Sam Darnold had 4 sacks on him for 25 yards. Well, CJ Stroud also had 4 sacks for 42 yards. Almost an extra 20 yards lost on those sacks. And then Davis Mills got sacked for 7 yards as well. But so 5 sacks on the day. Just total domination. And the team is vibing. They're happy. They're talking about how this team feels different. This team feels special. Aaron Jones came out and said he's been on a lot of great teams, but there's something about this one. And him and Justin Jefferson are talking about it on the sidelines. Like, they're feeling it. So,
and we have to believe them. We have to absolutely believe the players.
For sure. These guys know. And obviously you say things to the media and stuff like that, but
for sure,
we feel it too. This is special to go 3-0 for, these first 2 games. Everybody's expecting us to be at the very highest 1-2. No one's expecting us to win this or the last game. The Giants is maybe a coin flip, so this was supposed to be kind of like a half rebuild year, and we're having a lot of fun early on. And 3 wins right now, it helps immensely for the playoffs, like making a run to the playoffs. We're looking at now the Bengals at 0-3, which is like, what do you do there? It takes a lot of work to get into the playoffs now. And so
to 500.
To 500, it's very difficult. So the Vikings now they get to feel good. There was a few seasons ago, I think last year we started 0-3. And we started 1-5 and then came back to be 5-5. It was,
right.
Which was really tough to do. And finally, after 10 games, we're back at 500. But now we're at least 500 until week 6. You know what I mean? So, or week 7, right? So
yeah.
It's
good.
Just good. So that's the breakdown of the game. What really happened? Like, I kind of got off topic here,
man.
But...
You gotta actually sit back and relax. And now next week, Green Bay. Divisional game, we'll get into that.
I do want to have one extra thing. I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about the disguised looks, and one of our safeties, Cam Bynum, came out and was like,
You mean the guy who got an interception? That guy? That
exactly.
guy? Yeah.
And I thought this is what he said. He says he feels like anxious that his guy next to him is blowing his coverage right now. Like, while they're lined up, he's like, shit, that guy's is he gonna blow his coverage? Because they're so disguised and so off position that he's like, in his head, he's got to trust the guy next to him, but he's like, ooh, man, you're not even close.
He knows what's happening, right?
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
lined up so far away where he should be.
Exactly. And then he said, so I don't know how a quarterback could read this. If I know what's happening and I still feel nervous about it, how can the quarterback even comprehend something like that?
Sweet quote.
Super cool. Yeah.
Sweet.
Super fun. So, anyways,
man, I have that belief. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, 3-0.
3-0. Thank you, Vikings. Thank you, Vikings, for making me feel so good.
Wow, fantastic. and who knows? You big chance for 4-0.
4-0.
If Jordan Love's still on the sideline, which he very well could be.
Yeah. But we'll get into it.
Malik Willis. We talked about him and what he's done, but this Vikings defense, I feel like they're available in so many fantasy leagues.
I know.
Because everyone's saying, that was just 1 week. They beat the 49ers, but this is another week.
I had the Cowboys defense in 2 leagues. They got me -1 this week. What am I doing?
Get them out of there. Get your homer pick. Holy moly. That's incredible. But we will be back soon with recap going into week 4. Thank you all for being with us today. We do appreciate it. And again, if you are LA Chargers fans, Minnesota Vikings fans, NFL fans, come talk to us. Let us know in the chat, who's your team? You cheer for us. You cheer for anybody else. Talk some smack. Who cares? Let's have a community. Let's build it. Thank you so much. Brandon, send us off.
Skol Bolts, baby! 3-0!
Skol Bolts!
Skol Bolts. Okay, see ya.